Last time I was recording in 4K for no reason. The video didn't even end up being 4K. I rendered it in 1080. So that shit was incredibly pointless. It's right there. No, you didn't. You put it away.
I remember I put it in your hands for me. You're like,
oh, shit.
thank you.
They calling you out to your
You
face.
left it.
You're literally looking at it, bro.
Downstairs.
I can see the bright ass fucking red. Unless
I think
I'm wrong.
that's the cord.
Oh, well. Listen, man. It is what it is. It's in the room. Okay, well, there you go. Actually, it's not loud enough. I could just raise the volume later. It is what it is.
What is he?
This is... Oh, man. Where am I? I was like, yo, I can't see well.
I put it up there. Did I? Yeah, I did. Oh.
Paloma, you want to get my glasses? Paloma's going to be the Jamie of the podcast. Be like, yo, Paloma, pull that up. Pull that up. That's funny. Anyways. Oh, I was blind, but now I see.
I was see, but now I'm blind.
This is 54.
Wow.
What are you saying? Huh?
5 + 4 = 9.
What are you saying?
What I'm saying right now is what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Anyways, yo, corrections, bro. Upon re-listening to 53, I was like, yo, I get what you were arguing. Like the what's it called? Like you agreed with what I was saying, but you said like there's still a kind of like what do I say? It's I think the whole point of it was just like don't get too attached to like anything. So when you were saying saying that working out isn't like, what did I say? Like I was like it's not.
I think it was something.
It's not necessary, which I still believe.
For happiness or something. Like if someone's happy in their basement playing video games.
Yeah. Which I still believe, but I can understand why you were like, you felt. I wouldn't say you totally disagreed, but you were like, it's not an objective fact, because like I think there's been a lot of research saying that like physical exercise has a lot to do with like mood increase and also, like serotonin
there's a lot
increase.
Of factors to it, right? Yeah, one is dopamine, serotonin receptors for sure, because you're playing video games. Instant gratification. Number 2 is the blue light coming from your eyes.
Speak directly into my eyes.
Number 2 is the blue light that's coming into your eyes from the screen.
Yeah, that can
Number 3, you're not
yeah.
moving at all, so there's no blood flow. Your spine is getting stiff. I mean, sure, like it's fine for 2 years, but your back's gonna start hurting if you don't get moving.
Yeah,
etc. Like, I don't know. There's like down the line, it can be pretty detrimental, I feel. But of course, like with anything, balance, right?
Yeah, moderation. Yeah, but it's funny. When did we record that one? August 14th, I think.
That was a month ago.
I don't know when, but I got into David Goggins like a few weeks ago, and I think that was a nice
crazy.
Yo,
so crazy,
that nigga is
dude.
fucking ridiculous, bro. Like ridiculous. And I don't for people who don't know, for context, David Goggins is basically this like retired Navy SEALs guy, and he like takes like. Actually, it's not even about like hard work, because his whole message in all the interviews I've seen is that like your mind is underrated, basically.
That's true. That is his like.
That is like basically the main
essence of his
the main
teaching.
message that he tries to like say. It's that like none of the things. What he always says is that none of the things he did was necessarily off of physical skill, because a lot of it fucked his body up to the point where like he's still now to this day.
Right.
Like years later, having to fix things that he broke about his body. You know, he stretches for like 2 hours every night.
That is fucked. I do not want to do that.
Because he has to like fix, because basically like his muscles and like and I guess just parts of his body are so fucked up, and also he was so tight in general from like he says like the amount of stress that he went through and like all of his life experience growing up is like it's almost as if he was in a fetal position for like the majority of the first half of his life. So in terms of that, I guess your mental state kind of like reflects
your physical
and your
like
physical.
Psychosomatic.
So he said like he found out his body was super tight. So then, and it's funny because like he's not one of those workout guys that only tells you to work out. And that's not even the main thing about him. His thing is not physical exercise. Although that's the main way. His main thing is just like conquering your mind. And conquering not in a sense of like, because you can get very egotistical about that aspect of like conquering your mind, which is very, very a terrible idea because you're still working towards a future that doesn't exist and that you'll never reach.
Right.
Right?
Trying to achieve something by pure will or determination.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily the act of like it's kind of like the process of it. It's not necessarily the being big, because he says it like his body, like his physical shape, like the nice body he has is just a byproduct of all of this shit that he does. Like it's a game of like every day having to like conquer yourself in a way.
And the interesting thing about that is like you can do that all you want and you can work as hard as you want, but if you're not doing it the proper way, you're gonna have to stretch for 2 hours a day to like undo all of that tension. But there's like smarter ways to do it, of course. But
yeah, of course. But he's the type of guy where he's like he doesn't like think, like that's the thing, because a lot of people will try to figure out the perfect way to do something before they even do it. But his whole thing is like in the concept of running, because that's what he's the most known for, is like just put your fucking shoes on and go run.
I would disagree.
Of course, like
because
I think
the thing is I've been getting into David Weck recently, the Weck method. He's the dude that made the Bosu ball. So his whole thing is
oh my god, that is such a huge difference.
Where do I even start?
Always pointing directly like this.
So where do I even start? He recently just made these things called propulsors, which is like a handheld weight that shifts. So when you punch down, you punch the ground with it, and when you're going up, the weight shifts to the top. So there's no inertia. So you're weightless coming up. So the up is free, right? So you punch the ground to get faster. Also, he's all about like the biomechanics of it. So head over your foot, that's how you run. Like you're never taught how to run in school, right? It's always swinging your arms.
Yeah, they always just tell you to run.
Just run. But that's not necessarily the best way to do it, because
it's definitely not the smartest way.
Yeah.
It's not the smartest way because injuries, and like having
and also effectiveness, because he's going straight for the top. Like he's not going for like us, the market. He's going straight to the athletes, straight to like Olympic committees. He's handing them this knowledge and telling them, do this, you'll become faster. And it's working. I'm telling you, 5-10 years from now, he's gonna conquer.
It's fire.
Like his name's gonna be all over.
Because I can see what you mean. I think the reason why I agree with what he says is for the simple reason that when he started running, it was at a point where he was such a pussy, and like he was so tired of his own comfort, where it was like no more procrastination, no more like buffer period. Like let's just go.
Yeah.
And I think his method is very reckless in the fact that it's like let's do it and then let's figure it out as we go. So now he has to like kind of undo the damage from having just gone straight to do it and doing like.
And I think that's actually beautiful, man. Because even though like there might be consequences, but it's beautiful because like fuck, how many of us have so much trouble waking up early and like even putting on our shoes to go run? Like just run.
His small runs are like 7 miles.
Fuck. It's miles, not even kilometers, dude.
I think a mile is 1.6 kilometers.
That's
so like
crazy.
do the math roughly around like that's probably what.
Jesus, that's like you said 7 miles for you.
That's around.
It's like 20 kilometers.
10. I'd say 10 to 15 kilometers probably. I think 1.6.
So it's 7 times 2 is 14. It'd be like 20-ish kilometers. That's a lot.
That's a lot, bro. I think that's running from. I could run from my crib to downtown. I think that's around 20 kilometers.
20 kilometers. Yeah. Because 5 kilometers is like here to South Keys.
And what's beautiful about him is that, like, in his interviews, he always makes it very clear that he hates running. And that before his runs, like, he'll procrastinate like every other person, where he's like, he'll look at his running shoes for 30 minutes and he'll be like, fuck, like, I have to do this. And it's the whole thing of like when you're done conquering, like, today, the thought of like, I have to do it all again tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and then the day after, and then the day after. So it's like, and you can tell it's not like, the thing about people in terms of like with the concept of grinding, it's always the fact that people grind to get somewhere. But I think when you get happy with grinding, because grinding, like, to me, it shouldn't be something that you don't enjoy. And there should be, sure. It shouldn't be like that you don't enjoy in the sense of,
don't do it so hard that you hate doing it also.
Exactly. Like, it's like he hates running, but he loves the process of getting himself to run and then doing it and then finishing it and then conquering the fact that he, like, it's the whole, I think what he enjoys is getting out of his comfort zone. So if he manages to get himself out of it today, like, fire. I'm happy about myself that I managed to do that, and then like tomorrow we'll do it again. So I think the thing of grinding is that it's not like, as much as it's not enjoyable because it's like very delayed gratification, it's not necessarily about getting somewhere. It's about the process of grinding. It's like it's what we always say, it's like the journey or whatever. And I think that's where a lot of people like get very what's it called? Averse? Right. Averse, like, the people have a big aversion towards that is because of the fact that, like, they're like, okay, why, if I'm doing all this grinding, I'm supposed to get something out of it. I think,
yeah, but it's also important to like have a goal.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, and work towards something, because it's like, because I'm reading this book right now, and it's about the speed reading. It's like,
oh, you could talk about what you know from it so far. I saw you had a little notebook.
If you want to learn something, like if you're reading a textbook and it's about law, like, dude, who cares about law? Like, you're like, sure, you're in school for it, but it's gonna get to a point where your mind gets really dull. And one of the tricks he gives is like, just like, ask questions. It's like, ask questions like, So this one example he has is, okay, so what's so important about like Texas and the law there? It's like, why it's this way? Why is it this way? Is it true? How did it get that way? Like, ask questions and make assumptions.
It's almost as if you're in a classroom.
You're like playing. Yeah, you're like playing the game. So it's like, I want to find out. I want to keep reading so I can answer my own question, and not just like, oh, we're reading this.
Make it more active than like very passive, just reading this, that, and then just reading, like, you're just reading a bunch of facts. Yeah. Especially with like nonfiction, informational nonfiction. Where you're just reading a shit ton of facts and you're like, oh, that sounds good. Yeah. And then you just move on to the next. Kind of like the satisfaction of like coming across something new, but not really trying to engage with it. Because like what you could do also is like, there's also that, like, the asking of the question before you read like what's coming next.
Well, it's just
and, like,
a tool to build like a reason, a motivation to do it.
Yeah, because the more engaged you are with it, the more you're probably going to retain. Like, the more emotions are involved. So if you're constantly like having a sense of wonder, like reading it, you're gonna remember it more because you're actively like reading it. Because sometimes you'll just end up reading and then you're like 3 pages down, you forget what you read 3 pages ago. But another thing is recall. Is like, explain it to yourself after you read it. Like, what did you just read? Can you explain it? Can you distill it down? Can you summarize like a few pages or like a paragraph?
It's funny you mentioned that, because the chapter I read today is about that. So the thing, let me just read it. So one of them is chapter 9, priming your brain for learning. And most of the, like, all of before it, like the previous chapters, is like teaching you how to remember certain things. And there's like a method to remember it. And it's really simple. It's literally just visualization. Yeah.
Is it the Mind Palace thing?
Mind Palace, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the, like, it's funny. It's funny how effective that shit is. Yeah. Like, it's like,
you use it?
I have experience with it. Like, I've used it for shit.
I just started, so it's hard to remember to use it. even, because it's just like it's,
It's very intricate, but I think once it's like with anything, like if you're not used to it, it's hard to kind of get into it. But I think once you get into it, it's very, very useful. Because it's like, it's a place you're familiar with, like say your crib, and then every little point in the crib as you walk through it.
Because you're not going to remember that. It's information that you already know.
For anyone, because we're talking like niggas know. For anyone that doesn't know what the Mind Palace is.
Just picture, okay, so let's say you want to learn, give me a topic.
Something simple. Pi.
Pi?
Yeah.
Like the number?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you just take your room, a room from your childhood, take that.
Something you're very
visualize it, walk in the room, and turn right. Go to that corner and visualize, let's say, the first, so 3 point, ... right?
Yeah,
so visualize the first 3-4 numbers. Visualize that and make it like very, very graphic and absurd, and like, he says even like incorporate like sexual, like very bizarre shit, so that it sticks in your mind and you'll never forget it.
Like it could be like a fucking, I don't know the first numbers, but it's like, let's say
so it's like, I don't know,
25 somewhere in there. You walk in the house, you turn right, and then you see a nigga with like 25 dicks on his folder, on his fucking
or
forehead.
like you pull out like a paper from his ass and it just has the number 25.
Yeah,
you're not gonna forget that, and the paper is covered in shit. You're not gonna forget that.
And you put it at that specific place in the Mind Palace, so that every time you walk through, that's what happens. So then you use that in order. So like the first two numbers, and then you go for the next,
And I'll explain like the science behind it. The reasoning he gives is, okay, so he actually like runs you through it. So you walk in the room, turn to your right, and what you see is 2 seahorses mating on the bed. Right? So your seahorses, the 2 seahorses represent your 2 hippocampi. So that part of your brain retains information. So like it's useful, right?
Yeah.
And there's also a vacuum that sucks up the two seahorses. And the vacuum represents also your hippocampi, which only retains useful information. So if it's not useful to you, it's not effective for your brain to retain.
Because your brain has a memory limit.
Yeah. So and also like, just is it useful? Like, is it useful at all for you to remember it? And if you're not using it, then it sucks it up. So that's number 1 corner. Number 2 corner is you imagine a chunk of peanut butter stuck to the wall. And what this represents is just the information chunking and chunking the information together.
Is that him trying to get you to remember
the process
through the Mind Palace?
Yeah,
that's
sick.
That's a sick way.
Yeah. And then
to show how it works.
And then it's chunky peanut butter on the wall stuck. The third corner is bunch of messy wires. You cannot untangle them, and that represents your past memories and your neural network. So that neural network it's tangled. You can't really untangle it. So once you add another cord, new memory, new learned thing that you add to that bunch of cords, it'll be harder to untangle it, because using previous like knowledge to your advantage is huge, because it sticks better. And then the 4th corner is you picture like an iconic image, it like framed onto the wall. I pictured like the Basquiat with the no shoes, wearing a suit. So that's just to like the visualization, right? Yeah. Make it super vivid so you don't forget. The picture superiority effect, he calls it.
Bro, visualization.
Then, last one. You go back to the entrance and there's a huge blue pin that's right in the entrance. Sorry. And that's supposed to just represent like
the process,
the importance of spatial awareness, and because that's like built into our evolution, right? It's like, if you need to survive, you need to know where the river is. For the water, you need to know where,
and you need to be able to see it in your head so that you can kind of
And another myth he debunks is like, some people think they're like auditory learners, or like, like tactile, whatever.
And they're only one?
They're literally mainly one, which is visual, because that's the first thing it's visual, smell, and something else I forgot, because that's like the most gross sensation. That's like, it's like, it's not subtle at all.
It's not subtle.
Number 1 thing you need to survive is your vision.
It's funny, I was on a bus, like random thought came in, and I was like, I wasn't even thinking about it, it just randomly came up. I was like, I think my vision's one of the senses I take the most for granted. And it wasn't like I was thinking anything related to that. Just randomly the thought came up, and I was like, I don't think I take my vision for granted. And then I like went on to the next thought, and then that's it.
By the way, if anyone's interested in reading the book, it's called "The Only Skill That Matters" by Jonathan Levy.
I'll link it in the.
He also has a really good podcast.
If you want to get the book, a link to the Amazon will be in the description below. Go get that. It's very informational. You're gonna learn a lot of things. You know, students are back to school, so if you want to get it, use our referral link on Amazon. Support us, support the channel, support the podcast. Thank you. Don't forget to click the Patreon and subscribe today.
Also.
Next thing, is I'm actually so glad, bro. Back to the David Goggins thing. So reading that and like really understanding his philosophy behind working out and the fact that like it doesn't have to be something you enjoy doing in the process, which like it's a very paradoxical thing in the fact that like getting yourself to do something that you don't enjoy doing in very short-term form makes you enjoy it because you're overcoming something, right? I think with humans we're kind of programmed to be overcoming adversity all the time, which is why I think people get very, very like off and anxious and depressed if they're so comfortable for such a long period of time. Because I think, as we said before, like our brain is still kind of primitive, and our biology is still somewhat primitive, and it catches up very slow to the world we're in today, which is why like dopamine is a problem and phones are a big issues because like our brain is not programmed to handle that shit.
Our entire environment is
basically it's just equipped. Like passing us, and that's why I've gotten to a point where like Elon Musk's like theory about AI makes so much sense because it feels like it's survival of the fittest. So if the robots can adapt to this better than we can, the robots will be able to just become the ones at the top of the hierarchy. You know, like that makes complete sense to me. As soon as they become more autonomous,
I just question if
replicating
if
consciousness.
That's the thing. Like, do they have the creative power, like, to do
emotions
that?
And like all? I don't know.
It's so complex.
Because in the end, like everything's just neurons firing, and it's kind of electrical in a way. Like everything's happening in our brain is electrical, right?
Everything's electric.
Electricity, right? It's just like atoms, like just all of it. It boils down to physics, right? So
positive, negative charges.
If I guess if they can figure out how to like study that, I think it's going to be a very long time. But I feel like if it does happen, it might be accidental.
I feel like it might even happen in our lifetime because maybe, I mean, accidents.
Yeah, because accidents is what most of like crazy inventions have been. It's just niggas like fucking around and they're like, oh shit. And they're like, what could that be?
Bicycle day.
But, damn, tangents. But basically what that changed my mind because like running's like definitely in the top 3 least favorite things for me to do. Least enjoyable, least favorite things.
I'll show you this method of running. So it's
I was actually gonna ask you like
it's really
tips
simple
for fucking running.
So you huh?
Can I add something really quick? I've had this on my mind since the beginning. I think that like one of the reasons that weck is so important is and maybe not like the idea of like getting up to run every day just doing it or whatever, like that's good until you hurt yourself. I think that like physical activity is such a consequential thing, and I also think that if you're doing it in a way that is like really supportive of your body, then there's a much better chance of you doing it in a consistent of you doing it like consistently and actually like enjoying it to some extent, because it's like if David Goggins has been running for like, I mean, I've never seen his videos, but if he's been running for that long and he still hates it, like I don't know, that kind of sucks. Like if he's doing it for the grind, like that's nice, except for that he's like hurting his body. Like why would you?
He's kind of adapted to the whole thing where it's like he's gotten over the getting over being a bitch. So now that he's like tougher, it's like he's learning like how to manage it. Because he's learning more to listen to his body now and like figuring out how to, because now he's learned the reason why he stretches for 2 hours is because he's just now learned it. Right, like the importance of stretching, and the reason what he talked about is the fact that after like he started having to deal with injuries all the time, he realized that one of the reasons why he's getting more injured is because his the range of mobility was so low that like the fact that he was pushing himself so much without trying to increase his range of mobility was fucking up his body, because his body wasn't even adapted or like even stretched and ready to do the type of exercising he was doing. So once he figured out stretching is all is all you need to do, once he started stretching, he realized like his runs got way easier. And like it's the whole thing. His whole thing is like learning while doing it. And like adapting as he's doing it, which is very like trial and error and very like jump into it like manly shit, where it's like you run straight into battle and improvise and adapt as you're in battle, which is just one way.
That makes sense. I guess I just feel like it's not necessarily. He's learning, right, and he's learning while he's doing it. But it's not necessarily like the most. Like he's not an expert. That's the problem.
Yeah,
he's like an inspiring person,
but
he's definitely like he's an inspiring person, and like he can inspire you to do it. But he's not somebody that you should necessarily be listening to for advice on how to do it. Like,
he doesn't give advice on how to do it. No, it's not. He doesn't give like technical advice. Actually, what he's learning as he's going is what he shares. So he learns about heart rate training and like the importance of your heart rate and how that can actually help you like with your cardio way better. And like he says the importance of stretching and the importance of like visualizing, and really his message because what he does, and I think that's a lot of thing with like people who tell their own story and how they overcame their own adversity, is that a lot of people tend to mistake it as a person telling you to do what they do,
right,
instead of getting the point. It's always looking at the finger instead of looking at what the finger is pointing at.
Yeah.
So it's like he always tells you like, I'm not telling you to do what I do. I did what I did because that's the situation I was in, and that's what was required for me to do, and that's the best way for me that I used to get out of that situation. But what I'm telling you is just overcome adversity. like life's the whole point of life is just throwing a bunch of shit at you. Like life in a way, it's like that bully, like that brother who bullies you out of just trying to like toughen you up,
right?
Out of just wanting to toughen you up, right?
Paloma says life doesn't have to be that way.
That's what I mean. Like the reason why a lot of people see it that way. A lot of people. The thing is, a lot of people feel like life is bullying them a lot of the time, and he doesn't speak to people who don't have any problem with life. He speaks to people who feel in a way that they're too weak to even handle life in the first place. So if you want a way to be able to handle it, what you need to do is actually give yourself adversity to overcome. Because life is not going to stop and go like, oh, he's hurt, let me stop. Like,
yeah, it's just like doing it in a smart way that isn't a detriment to your vessel.
Oh, yeah, of course. But that's the thing. Like in this case, it's not even about physical exercise. It's just about, it's everything he's saying is just, it's about the mental. Like the physical exercise was just a way for him to toughen up his mind. Because he felt so weak mentally, not physically.
No, I get it. Yeah.
So it was
overcome. Mind over matter.
Basically, it's like it's and I think when I realized that, I was like, okay, so me running away from like working out and all of that shit, like I felt like when I saw that, the reason why it affected me and got to me is because of the fact that like. When he said it, I felt the amount of comfort I was in. And in a way, intuitively, I was like, yeah, that's probably detrimental. Because if I get too attached to it, life doesn't care how attached you are to your comfort zone. If it wants to take my life right now, there could be a fire in my house one day that starts and burns down the entire house. My parents could
like
just
constant remind, like you need to be aware of that.
My parents could just go out today to work, and then next thing I know, I get a call. Accident, any kind of thing, they're dead. My sister, Ala, you, Paloma.
Your mouth, dude.
like Paloma. Like I'm saying this, and it like the fear I'm getting saying it is crazy. Like anything is so impermanent, and how comfortable you get with stuff, thinking it's forever, can be one of the biggest like slaps in the face once you get a reminder of it. But if you kind of toughen yourself up in a way to put yourself in situations where you have to overcome something, and if you figure out strategically how to do it, and even if it's like
artificial, you create it for yourself.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be physical exercise. Like it could be any. There's a lot of things that are endurance based or like making something that brings a little fear into you. Like literally, it could be like public speaking. If someone's very scared of that, like figure out if you're a musician who wants to play live but you're very scared to do it, set up random like thing outside randomly in the public at Rito or something and start playing live for no reason. Like that could be a form of it, right? So that's the thing like I got from it. It's not about physical exercise. It's just about
many ways
overcoming like adversity and being strong enough to even handle life. Because I think that's the whole point of life. It's just like, can you handle it? Can you handle being a human being? Because bro, like 20 years in, it's just crazy.
It's interesting now because it's like our environment is so like artificial and
mediocrity is like encouraged at this point. You know, it's like everyone is like getting your feelings, like being offended is like something that the world needs to stop for you. Like when you like kids are fucking can't lose now. Kids can't lose because they're giving them trophies for participating and making them think that that's an achievement. Participating, yeah, it's cool to participate, but like
it's interesting to like just like wonder about how many young people, like kids, are like when they're gonna come across this sort of mindset.
And that's the thing, right? The logic behind it is that if you never like have to overcome anything, and whenever you're about to lose, people shield you from it. When the real actual losses come in, like there's a dodgeball game, and then there's like a job that you really needed so you could provide for people you want and yourself. Like you have to learn to be able to deal with this thing. So if your whole life you're getting shielded from like little losses like chess games and like competitive little sport games while you're growing up, when the real losses start to come in, you haven't been able to even experience what loss is like. So losses are even more devastating, and life doesn't wait for you to learn how to lose.
At the end of the day, it's like the pressure creates adaptation, and if you have ambitions and you want to get somewhere and like serve people, then you need to have a very powerful desire to serve people, and that needs to be your number one thing. And work towards it, and like motivation, that should be your number one motivation, not really like the fear of it or like being comfortable sort of thing. I don't know, there's a lot of layers, but
yeah, because
you can go on forever.
Because the thing is what this is like a very subtle correction of what I was saying last time. Because it's like I was saying if it brings you joy or whatever, do it. But at the same time, it's like at the same time, if you get too comfortable and too attached, it's all a game of attachment, really. Because like, if you're comfortable and you're attached to your comfort, that's when the problem becomes a problem.
Yeah,
because
and it won't even happen right away. It's gonna happen like 5 years down the line.
It's gonna wait until you're very attached, like until you think like this thing is permanent.
Paul Chek has said this one thing. I think he quoted someone. It's like, if your health isn't your number one priority right now, one day it will be.
Exactly. When your body starts to deteriorate. And that's the thing, like with the aging, like anti-aging like skincare shit. They usually
cosmetics are so dirty.
No,
man.
but the thing about those things is they usually tell you like I'm not even talking about how good or bad they are, but it's that usually they tell you starting to take anti-aging creams and shit while your face is already fucked up doesn't do anything. Like if you want to stay with that face, like you better start doing it as soon as possible. Yeah. Like you got to do it now while your face is still low. So it's the same thing with any kind of health. It's like you just start maintaining your body now, and career, anything like career, like spiritual, whatever. It's like you don't wait. I mean, spirituality, like a lot of people wait until like there's like this absolute despair. Like usually like a lot of niggas like Russell Brand, Rich Roll, all those people are people who are like addicts and like very, very at the rock bottom. Because the thing about spirituality is it demands that you hit rock bottom. Whether it's physical, like very physical or very mental, like it demands that you hit rock bottom.
It's like you have to go.
Because rock bottom is enlightenment. Like that's rock, but that's when you just completely destroy it. That's when everything is completely gone. Rock bottom is the same as the highest, right? It's polarity, same thing. But so now I just restarted like working out more consistently, and like I'm eating more for my body, and like taking like just paying more attention to how I eat and how much I eat, because diet is actually the most important part for me. At least I don't know for some people.
I mean, it's everyone.
For the most, for the most part, diet. I think
the Coke that you drink is gonna make proteins to become your eyeball, and you really don't want Coke to be your eyeball. Like that, at the end of the day, you know, it's like you are what you eat.
Coca-Cola eyeballs. So yeah, I'm trying to eat more because I need to gain weight, and it's harder for me to gain weight because my metabolism is so fast. So I'm eating more. And then I don't know if you saw the little log workout, but it's very like simple things.
Goggins.
It's very simple things, but it's very endurance based, where it's like you really destroy the fuck out of that muscle. But as I do it, I'm just noticing my limits, and then I'm adjusting. So like the last time I did 10 push-ups, it was 10 push-ups, and it was like a lot of repetitions of each. But then I realized by the time I get to like the last like set, I can't do it anymore. So like I'd rather lower it down. So I lowered it down to 8, and that's more manageable.
The thing about that is like, I mean, yes, it's healthy. Like there's nothing on you. It's just like in general. When I started to work out, like when I was little, when I was like a teenager, I'd be like, oh fuck yeah, like first day in the gym, like I'm gonna go so fucking hard. Next day I can't even move.
Exactly.
And I can't move for like 3-4 days. So what would have been smarter is just to do like 60% my first day in, 61 the next. So now you can work out every day. I don't even want to use the word work out.
Exercise.
Like, exercise, movement, right? Like it's more sustainable just in general. And you'll enjoy doing it because it's not traumatic for your muscles to fucking like be immobilized.
This is my first rodeo. I remember the first time I would go to the gym. I got like a subscription for a Fit for Less in Gatineau. Holy fuck, bro. I was sore for like probably like not a week, but like 5 days probably.
Oh man,
because I was just going. But now I know like I work out every other day, and like since the last time I did the workout, which was today, 2 days ago, like the rest of the day plus the day after as rest, like my body felt ready for the next. Like it's really a game of, and it's very cliche, but and you said it last episode, is just listen to your body. And don't pretend like you, like, as much as you want to go hard, there's also reality, and there's also like a certain degree of patience that you need with yourself.
One thing that David Weck said that really like caught my ear was, he's like, just do one set for everything. Once, like life, dude. That's one set. You're sitting right now, the way you're sitting, one set of that. Sit properly. Like make your spine. Like stack your spine, like you know, don't slouch. You're gonna walk down the stairs, walk with your head over your foot, one set each. Head over your foot, head over your foot, head over your foot. And just take it one by one. I was like, wow, that's simple, but it's really profound.
Just bringing awareness to what you're doing. Yeah. So if you're doing just one set, you make sure you do it properly and you get the most out of it. But that's the thing, man. It's like, it's really just a game of figure out what like what's best for you. Like that's one thing I'm realizing, bro. It's like there's a lot of conflicting information coming in from a lot of people.
Yeah.
So and one also, person will tell you to do
like
this.
There's like your BuzzFeed Healthlines, like
because everyone,
bro,
ways to get there's 20 million ways to do a push-up. There's so many ways. There's so many ways in terms of like how fast you should go, how explosive should it be, the form. Should you go like wide? Should you go like narrow? Should you go middle? Should you go full diamond? What's the best one? What's the best one that'll build the best shape pecs? Like blah, blah, blah. Like if you really, that's the thing with everything. It's like if you really want to get into it, sometimes it might be too overwhelming. And that's what I did when I got into it. I was like, let me make it as simple as possible and use the most simplest things. And as I do it, I'll just keep researching and keep tweaking as I go. That's the best way that I learn.
Interesting thing about like just like like diamond this, wider stance, like narrower, is like I've been getting into also like natural movement. And the cool thing about that is like they don't really teach you how to do push-ups or like even like tell you to do push-ups. It's like, can you get off the floor without touching the floor? Like, can you stand up without using your hands?
Just practical shit.
Like, you don't even need to be taught. Your body knows how to do it.
You just
at
need
a
to do
very
it.
fundamental level. But you need to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You need to do it, and you need to have the capacity to do it, the mobility to be able to do it. And what they really
Mobility,
work on,
bro.
what they really work on is building you up from the mobility.
Niggas don't
So
stretch.
I'm scared of like strength or like just like endurance, because I can feel like 2 weeks in, I can feel my shoulder starting to pop, and if I just relax for like a week or two, it's back to normal. And with the MoveNat stuff, it's really interesting because it's like you're strengthening yourself from your joints, only then your muscles. So it's like I don't really have to worry about getting injured. I just have to follow this routine, and I'm gonna become stronger.
And you're good, yeah.
And of course they have like progressions, like
Yeah.
you're jumping off of like a rock, like it's sick. What he does.
Well, that's the cool thing about anything is like you can get exactly as you go, you get more complex and you figure out like you can't do. I can't do a full lotus, so I started out doing easy pose, cross-legged, and then I stretched until I could do Burmese, and now I'm at quarter lotus, and then eventually I'm gonna be able to do half lotus, and eventually I'll get to full lotus. But for me to force myself to do full lotus, I'm gonna break my fucking knees and I won't be able to even sit easy at all.
You're gonna have to get surgery. You're gonna be out of commission for like a year.
So it's like just
You don't wanna do
listen
that.
and be patient. It's just a game of patience, and it's a game of like what works best for you. Some people will never be able to get into
I wouldn't
lotus.
even just say just patience. It's because then there's the factor of like the David Goggins, like now, right? You gotta have the willpower to do it now. I think it's more about
Paradoxical.
precision, because it's like you can your aim can be, you want to be buff, right? But it's like if you're not going about it in a smart way, in a precise way, then you might hurt yourself. I'm not saying you will, but there's a possibility.
You might, yeah.
And
nah.
the David Weck thing, the running. So it's like 10, 15 minutes overdue, but they might have to like rewind. So you take your hand, middle finger in, do it. Middle finger first, index over, like that, like flat, and then
I
your
can't.
thumb over.
Can't even do that one.
And then what you do is you just, when you're running, just punch down on the ground. So not swinging, but you're
What does that
punching
do?
down. So what this does is this, and also you have to cock your fist in and keep your elbows in. So you're running like this. You're not like this, but you're like this. So what this does is this creates a fascial link, like your muscles. Like, I don't know exactly, but this is what he says. It creates a fascial link that, like fascial chain that drives all the way down to your feet. So when you're doing this, you're punching the ground and the up is free. So when you're going up, when you're finally like taking off from the ground, the up is free. So you're actually lighter. So instead of swinging, you punch down on the ground. So you're using the momentum and the force of stepping to push yourself up.
That's kind of cool.
And it's crazy. You feel, dude, Paloma, you remember the first time you tried it?
Yeah, it's.
You felt-
I'm like not a very fast runner, anyways, but I felt so much lighter on my feet. I usually feel super heavy on my feet just because I'm not as graceful as I would like to be, and it helped so much.
Yeah. And you feel it. It's like sprinting, man. It's
Try it
like
next run. Try it next run.
Yeah.
I'm working my way up to 10K eventually. Because, man, like, bro, when I'm telling you, like, one was fine. One was fine. But, like, 1.5, 1.6 and shit, like, holy fuck. The amount of pushing myself I had to do.
Is why? Just to get to 10K?
Just to get to it.
Yeah. Because for me, my goal was mainly, like, I used to play soccer competitively. Not so much.
Yeah.
So my goal was like for the field, right? Everything is for the field.
Yeah.
Right now, not so much. It's just like I just want to be strong and like have good coordination and balance, because I don't really have like a thing to compete for. It's mostly just like, how can I be precise?
No, I mean, it's just to do it, just to give myself something to overcome. Because 10K to me sounds like a fucking a pain in the ass. So that's kind of why I want to do it. And also like cardio, like it actually is useful to just be able to run a long distance. Because if I need it, like, and it's like you don't think like in a moment where you need it maybe, but like to just have that ability, like, and it's also I don't know, it's healthy, I guess.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Like, dude, hunters and gatherers, like if you can't run long, then you're not catching your Dinner.
But yeah, the main thing I'm learning is just like, it's funny because I'm saying like fuck comfort, but really get very, very, very comfortable in like accepting of like, and very confident in who you are, and first you need to figure it out. And I'm not mean I mean who you are in like in its whole like objective sense, as objectively as you can, in the sense of like, what are you good at, what are you bad at, what's things about yourself that aren't that great, what are the things about yourself that are awesome, blah blah blah. Figure it out, and then just accept it. Like, don't go, I'm not this and that's bad, or I'm not that and that's bad. If you think you can work on it, go ahead, but like before you start to do any kind of work, you really need to just look at it for what it is and be like, it is what it is. That's it. And like really accept it, and like still hug yourself. Like still like embrace it. Don't scold yourself too much. Right? Like be on your ass, but like don't. It's this whole thing of like, it's very paradoxical, like trying to explain it, because like that's why we always have those failures in our conversations, because we're saying very paradoxical things where it's like we're just like we're like, I'm saying one side.
It's just the opposites at same degrees.
I'm saying one side and you're saying the other, but in a way we're saying the same thing.
Diametrically
and like
opposed.
I'm saying one
see
side.
right across from you, yeah.
I'm saying one side acknowledging the other, but the fact that I didn't say the other, you feel like you need to mention it, and that feels like a disagreement.
Man,
so then we keep going back and forth,
dude.
but we literally agree. But it's just a game of like, accept yourself, but it like doesn't mean you shouldn't try to change what you can change. But in the Alan Watts lecture, it's called Why the Urge to Improve Yourself. It's not called that. It's actually called Mind Over Mind. I think you should listen to it because it's very nice, because what he tells you is self-improvement is bullshit in the sense of like, the one that's doing the self-improvement is the same one that needs to be improved. So how do you know? Right? So it's like, and he's not telling you don't do anything. He's telling you don't be too attached with an outcome of yourself as improved. Like don't be attached. And the same thing David Goggins says, and it's funny because he says it in such a non like intellectual scholar Alan Watts way, right. But I see the connection in their messages, and that stop picturing a finish line, because you're always going to be disappointed. Because there's always more shit to do. Until even when you're dead, if you want to involve some fucking Buddhist reincarnation shit, Hindu reincarnation shit, that could not be the finish line. And the fact is, there's no finish line, because wherever you're going, wherever you're trying to be, you're already there. Which is now. Now is all that exists. So for you to work towards a future, remember that future doesn't exist. And that you're already you're it already. So trying to beat it is very futile.
Abstract thought that is.
It's funny because
it will take, like.
It takes experience.
Yeah.
I think it takes living to really get it. Because like I've known this since we got into like we were starting to get into meditation more, doing it more often in 2018 type shit, where we were like, yo, like present moment,
dude, I'm so
mindfulness, me. But
dude,
like
the ego,
ego. But like it's funny, even that, like the point of it's not this, the like people think. I think the thing is, people really, really, really misunderstand messages because of how subtle and straightforward they are. And I think maybe out of like a very subconscious like denial of the message's simplicity, we complicate it just so we can like kind of justify our not applying the thing, or like just so we can't admit the fact that we're not applying that thing. But like really, it's so simple. And the fact that like, of course, the goal is not to stop your thoughts. Like you're not going to, like the funny thing is like the trying to stop the thought is just another hindrance. It's just another desire, right? So if you're desiring to not think, there's going to be a lot of thoughts about your thoughts. And then that creates a lot of depression in the fact that now you're so self-aware that you're constantly judging what you're even thinking in the first place. So you kind of like, there's certain points, bro, where I'm like, because it's like I'm so aware of the thoughts, and I also know that like enlightenment or whatever is a state of no thought, and like kind of meditate, quote unquote, to get there. So when you hear them and they're coming in and you can't stop them, and then you're like, oh, but that's just a stupid thought, and you're trying to tell yourself that it's just a thought, and that doesn't help because you keep thinking.
You're just measuring.
And you saying it's just a thought is just another thought. You kind of, there's such a despair, and like you feel like you're going crazy. Sometimes I'm like, holy fuck, like I'm going, like this is too much. And this is why niggas take drugs, to just like numb it all out. Because bro, sometimes it's crazy. And I think the game is just kind of, it's not to stop it. If it ever stops, it does it by itself. The goal, I think at the point that I'm at, is just allowing everything to be. Because your thoughts, your mind is just another sense, if you want to count it as one. Right? There's the 5 senses, that like the form world, and there's the mind. And the mind, you should just see it as another, same way as when you have an object, a physical object of meditation. I don't know, you want to meditate on the statue here. You look at it. And if the lighting on it changes, you don't say anything about the lighting. It just changes, and you look at it and keep looking. You look at the clouds moving, they just move. Same way your mind, you think, they're just thoughts. You just let them pass by. Same way you'd let pass by a sound, or taste, a smell, and a sight. Eventually the mind will tire itself out and it'll stop, because you're stopping giving, you're not desiring anything. And it's the funniest thing, because I've been getting more into Zen, and like Zen, the reason why I love Zen so much is because the whole thing feels like it's just it's not even a religion. I can't even call it a religion. The whole thing is laughing at the whole point. Like Zen laughs at you for even thinking that that you need Zen in the first place. So it's like
practice.
Like they don't even call it meditation, they just call it sitting. Like the highest form of zazen is called shikantaza, I think it's called, and it's called just sitting, where there's no object of meditation, there's no closing your eyes and getting into a trance. You're just sitting there, eyes open, looking forward, listening to everything, not trying to run away from everything, you're not closing your eyes. All the senses are active. Your thoughts, if they want to come in. And you're literally, all Zazen is just feeling the moment. The point of it is not to get any enlightenment, any peace, freedom, whatever.
Right,
it's to just feel now. What does now feel like? Including the thoughts.
It's definitely become more challenging.
Yeah.
As like my practice has deteriorated. But yeah,
I find that cool though. I like the aspect of destruction and the whole process of things, because it shows you how attached you are to what's being destroyed. And if you're attached to it, means your practice wasn't that great. So the fact that because that's what happened to me with when I started the world reopened, I couldn't meditate for 100 hours a day anymore. I was like, oh, but I want to meditate. What's happening when you're doing that? You're not in the moment. You're wishing you was in a moment that is different than the one right now. Truth is, the point of it all is right in front of you. Every single moment.
Presence. Ugh, fuck.
And it's like,
I forgot. I keep forgetting.
and that's why it feels like it's always laughing at you, because it's like you're just heads down. You're like, oh wait, this is the point.
The crazy thing is like you can remind yourself, and I forgot to remind myself, and you reminded me. It was like, fuck, I don't want to rely on someone else to remind me. I want to like just be aware of that all the fucking time.
But the desire to be aware of that is you not being in the present. And that's why it's the funniest thing of all. That's why it's like, that's why you can't make an identity or like a thing out of it, because being attached to it is the biggest hindrance. It's actually the biggest obstacle, which is why a lot of I finished reading the Trungpa book, and he's saying like, you might as well not have gotten into this at all. Like getting into it was kind of a mistake. Because now mountains aren't just mountains and rivers aren't just rivers anymore. And before he got into it, they were. But now all you're trying to do is get into the point where they're not just that, and then getting back into the point where they're just that. And it's basically just a fall from grace. And then you're just trying to get it back. But I don't know, man. Like I don't. The I fell off thing is not, of course, like there's a certain amount of effort that you should put in to like do it every day, And that's the thing, right? Grind, but not with the intention of an outcome.
Yeah.
Not with an attachment to the outcome. Because chances are the outcome is not going to be the one you imagine in your head. Right?
And that too, but also like another outcome is like just the impact and the benefits of having my practice was so profound. Now that I'm here, now that I'm not doing it, I'm aware of how profound it was.
Which is why not doing
and now
it
I want it some more.
But just I don't know, just be patient and find a way to adapt to the situation. The situation has definitely changed.
I think the most important thing is with this sort of thing is just like having a structure around it.
Yeah.
So like get up, sit for 30, forget about it.
Yeah.
Go to sleep, get up, sit for 30, forget about it.
I got my whole view on it got so like I got to a point where I became disgusted with my practice. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to, like, there's definitely something wrong. Because from reading Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind is like, usually if your practice is bad, it's usually because you have what the fuck is it called? An obtaining idea from it. Like you're trying to obtain something from it.
Right.
That's usually when your practice goes to shit. Because then you're not doing it. The point of meditation is to enjoy meditating.
Right.
It's to the point of meditation is to meditate. It's not to become anything. It's not to become enlightened. It's not to become a sage. It's not to become anything. But the thing is, once you get those benefits from it, it's so tasty that you want to hold on to it.
Another thing is like, even talking about this now, it's like, they'll figure it out. Whoever's gonna practice this,
Always.
they're gonna figure it out. They don't need us to tell them. And
It's the most self-sustaining thing ever.
yeah.
If your intention is fine, I think. So what's your like, how do you not have a structure to like when you wake up? Like do you just wake up and do whatever?
I wake up, I try to have a structure, as you can see up there. But
You do exercising though, right?
I do at least rope flow. But other than that, it's like I'll probably work out maybe twice a week, 2-3 times a week if I'm lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's like once.
Why do you think?
I'm just not really like I don't really have like a reason to become stronger or like fitter. It's I mean, the number one thing for me is like I want to be mobile. I want to sit in lotus. I want to get rid of my back pain. I want to have good posture.
Yeah.
And then comes strength for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I can have big muscles, but
I didn't
can't
mean
reach
working
my
out
back.
in the terms of like strength. I'm just meaning like, are you doing like physical exercising that you want to do every day?
That's what I mean. It's like, I want to do it, but actually, yeah, I want to do it. I want to do it. And I just want to become like mobile and like in my own body. I want to optimize my vessel.
So you're not really satisfied with like where you're at now in terms of like your routine per se?
Definitely not.
What do you think is like stopping you from getting to that place?
One thing is, having a partner and like being with them like 24/7 is really disorienting because like
that's a big hindrance.
Yeah, it's like you're sharing a space and time with them, and you have to like kind of align your schedule to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I mean, it's nice, it's a blessing, and it's a
curse.
massive pain.
Of course, always.
You know, it's like you just have to work your way around it and like make compromises. But it's really like, for me, what I found is like, you just have to do it, whether they're joining you or not. If you want to do it and you need to do it and you have set your sights on it, then you have to just turn around and go.
Do you find that you, at the end of a day, sometimes, like maybe if you think back on it at the end of the day or whatever, and you didn't do that thing that you planned to do or that you're supposed to do every day, like what do you usually feel about the day at the end of the day when you realize that? Do you feel a certain
I feel disgusted, but not like it's just like, oh fuck, I missed an opportunity where I could have, the day's gone. The day, not even the day's gone. It's because I'll always have the next day. It's just like I have missed the opportunity to make the most of my time today. And then I just go, I'll do it tomorrow. No worries. And then I usually don't do it tomorrow. I'll if I have like 4 or 5 things planned for the next day, I'll be lucky if I get 2 done.
I feel like there's usually a point where you like get very, very tired of it. If you really want to do it, I think there's really a point where like,
are you talking about like a movement practice in specific?
No, not just the thought of like fuck, like that. It's not even a lot. Well, from my perspective, it's not a long feeling of disgust. It's like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Let me try again. And then, but I think what happens is when you constantly do that, at a certain point you're like, okay, hold up. Like that's what I mean, like the okay, hold up moment, where it's like I've been saying let me do it tomorrow for the past month, and I haven't been doing it tomorrow. What the fuck is going on? And then I think at that point you might figure it out. But
and the stupid thing is like the solution is just to put your shoes on, man.
That's what I mean. It's like, bro, the thoughts will stop you, because the thoughts is like before you do it. And that's what I love about goggins' thing is like before you do it, a lot of it will be, is this the best time? Or like the peak time to do it is 7 a.m. but it's 9 now. Right.
He's more
so should I
fire, aim, ready?
So should I do it? Like should I do it at this time? I can't do it for the amount of time that I wanted to do it today. Oh fuck. Will it be an inconvenience to the other person who's around? If they don't want to do it, is it just gonna bother them? Blah. So it's like and it's not even that you're aware of those thoughts sometimes. Like sometimes those thoughts are just feelings that come up that you don't even think. You just feel it, and then you just kind of go with that feeling of like, and also if it's something that's out of comfort, where it's like it's not sitting down or laying down and eating and enjoying like watching something, and you have to get out of that. Getting out of that is the hardest thing. Starting is the hardest part.
Definitely.
Starting is like when I wake up and I'm like I have to the day, like the workout days when I'm like, oh shit, I have to run. Like it's like the thoughts. It's the thoughts, and that's where meditation comes, is because you detach yourself from them.
And the cool thing is, recently I've been getting into rope flow, and I got Paloma into it too. And the thing about that is, it's like non-effort, maximal benefit to both your brain, your body. Like coordination. It's so fun, and it doesn't even feel like work. It's like
I'm gonna get a rope too, actually.
Yeah.
Should I get the rope that you got? Like, is your rope specific for that? Is it a weighted rope?
It's not. It's just a rope.
Or just,
but you have to find like the right weight. The weight that like David Weck recommends starting is like 0.5 pound. So
okay.
The diameter is, I think, 1/2 inch.
Okay.
So yeah, because it's just like it gives you enough feedback and it's not too heavy.
But shit, man, there's gonna be a lot of like, because I know if the other person, the significant other, is not into the thing, that's actually your biggest obstacle.
Yeah.
Because of the simple fact that like, if the person is not in it with you, the chances of you being able to do it, because it's like the reason why we could do the podcast for so long is because there were two people doing it.
Yeah.
Right? So if it was only me doing a podcast by myself trying to find guests and all of that, like I'd be less likely to actually keep that streak going.
I think yes, but also no, because like of course if they don't want to do it then they have different goals. But the thing with me and you is like we both wanted to do it and we didn't have a reason to really commit to it. But the fact that we're both doing it together, that's enough. That's more than enough reason for me to commit to it and enjoy doing it, right?
Yeah, and that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So
I
like,
think the difference is like if they don't want to do it, then that's actually better, because then it's like, okay, I'm going. I don't have to really wait for you. I can just go whenever, and I don't really have to like accommodate.
But I'm sure you found that to get to that point where you can do that when that, because it's more likely for what I'm saying is it's easier for you not to do something if the person's not doing it. But getting to that point where you could do it, if you could, you would have been doing it right now, and that wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
So what I'm saying is like if the person doesn't do that thing, like when it's just you and the person doesn't really care enough about it to like be like, yo, let's do it, or like, why aren't you doing it? Especially if the person doesn't care, which isn't their fault. They just don't care. You can't force someone to care about something. They're not like, and they don't care enough to like go like, yo, you're being a bitch, like go do this. Like they're just chilling, right? Like you don't have anyone telling you to do it,
Yeah.
and there's gonna be a lot of days where you're not motivated and you're looking for an excuse not to do it. And there's someone right here who doesn't
Right.
care for it, and they're here to hang out if you don't want to do it.
To hang out.
They're here to hang out with you if you don't want to do it. They won't do anything. They won't tell you anything. So it's like it's easier. So, but it's also a game of understanding that and not really scolding yourself too much about it, and being just able to adapt.
Yeah. Yeah. And another beautiful thing is like, of course, your practice is your message, right? So just do it, and hopefully they will learn. Maybe
Sometimes niggas need to see some results to like get into something, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying like when I'm big, I'm not going big. I'm not getting big. I'm just doing body maintenance. I'm not really trying to like get bigger.
And I think that's the
anything.
best way to go about it.
Just
like,
maintaining it. Maintaining the machine.
Yeah. Have you seen Erwan Lacour? He's the founder of MoveNet. There's this video that's called, I think, I forgot what it's called. But he's like running barefoot in nature, like climbing rocks, running like crazy, running barefoot in the wild, and like balancing on like really like narrow beams. He's just strong for his body. He doesn't look buff. He doesn't have like a lot of muscle. He has the perfect amount of muscle so that he's mobile, fast, strong, agile. And that's all you need.
That's the thing, right? Because niggas get big and then they can't touch their backs.
Muscle gets in the way, man. Muscle gets in the way.
Niggas get big and they can't touch their backs. Like that's not useful.
No.
Like, bro.
And you can still get big and touch your back. It's just the method of like.
Oh, bro, MMA, like MMA and like UFC and shit. Like, there's a lot of niggas who like, I'm seeing them. They're like huge, like walking like this, and then they do a backflip and land in a fucking split. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I'm like, whoa, that's super cool. So it's like just balance everything out, because like if you get so much in strength that you lose your flexibility and mobility and like range, then like bro, like it's
a detriment.
Point? What's the point? And stretching goes hand in hand with working out in the sense of it's just water. Stretching goes hand in hand with working out in the sense of like it helps with muscle recovery. It helps with preventing injury. So if you do it before and after, before is like preventing injury and actually making you better at doing the movement because your body can go there if it needs to. And afterwards, your body, I don't know how it heals it per se, but like I guess just the stretching after can help the muscles
It's the blood
recover.
flow and like all of this.
There's blood
so many
flow
factors to it.
Yeah.
And just like the tension in the muscles being released. And I forgot what I was gonna say, but yeah, like there's so many fun ways to work out, and like I found it's like I've cheated, man. Like I've actually like I feel like I've hacked it because
you found ways to like
I found ways to get stronger and have fun. It's not like I don't dread it. You know, it's like I'm doing bear crawls and like jumping and rope. It's like and then my friends are still like doing like the conventional, like they have a gym membership, and it's like no wonder you don't want to go to the gym. It's just machines, and of course you can still use those machines, apply them in a certain way, but it's like
it's the lack of wanting to explore. It's like, I mean, if you're fine with it, cool.
Yeah.
But like, there's a lot of people who are like, yo, is this a lot of people think the way the gym way is the only way. A lot of people don't know about that shit of MoveNet and all of that and all of the ropes, the tai chis and like the yogas, because yoga builds a lot of strength too.
Oh, and Tai Chi itself. I listened to this. Sorry, another tangent. I listened to this podcast. Chris Holder on the Ben Greenfield Fitness podcast. So he was like a football player in high school and I think university too, and he's like a personal trainer. And then what happened is he did like a 4-year he did like a 4-year qigong like not even certificate. It was like a degree in qigong, like medicine, Chinese medicine. And right now what he does is he works for some university and he helps, like he's on the football team. And he gets them to do Tai Chi. And what he's found is that the players that are actually doing Tai Chi are performing better, recovering better, have more energy, and just like...
You want to know why Tai Chi is so useful to other shit? And like including non-physical like shit? Is because Tai Chi is based on Taoism. And the whole aspect of Taoism is using... Alan Watts paints it perfectly. It's like you're in a river. Life is the river. And it's going in a certain way. There's a current. And what most, I'd say 90+% people do is
Fight the current.
fight the current and try to go the other way. Like the should, could, would of the right now. We're sitting here and I could be going, oh man, I wish we were recording outside. Or, oh, I wish we were recording in a different location. Oh, I wish someone else was here. Or, I wish we spoke about this. I wish we spoke this way. I wish we spoke that way. That's going against the river. Because as the moment's happening, you're constantly trying to wish that it was something else. Or, like, almost willing it to be something else when you know damn well. And that's the worst part, is when you know damn well that it's impossible. So you're like, you know it, but you're doing it, and you're kind of like holding on to what you're doing, and in this way you're disrespecting. Right. You're not only disrespecting yourself because you know, like inherently,
it's like the desire of becoming strong has gotten to the point where you're so stiff, right?
Yeah. So it's like it's just, so what he says is you could go against it, and life is fighting against you at that point, or you could just give in. There's giving in and just stopping swimming and just like being on your back and then get carried. That's fine. But if you do want to start, like, as soon as you do that, though, the force of the current is on your side. So you can use it to your advantage to do other things, to go faster, to move. You can move left, right, and you can do, like, once you start moving in the direction of the current, then you're not only moving, but it's aiding you. So Tai Chi, what that does is all you're doing is just using energy and allowing it to move through you, and you're going along with it as it's going. There's no thinking in Tai Chi.
Some people might be like, where does the energy come from? And because it comes from, like,
they can't see
Taoist perspective, it's like the mechanics of it, where the energy comes from, is literally the 0 point field. It comes from
nothingness.
There's, like, in the field conference, I was listening to Paul Chek on Tai Chi, and he recited this research, and someone found that a cubic inch of space, a cubic inch of space, this much, has enough energy inside of it to dry out all of the oceans in this world. So there's the 0 point field. That's where you're drawing your energy from, and the thing is, the practice of it is so tangible that if you do it for like 2 days, man, you might even get it the first time, but it's so tangible that you can tell that it's substantial, like it's real. Like, no, it's not just moving slow. You're drawing energy and cultivating it and storing it.
I think the problem with humans at this point is that we've taken the shit we could see as way too real, and almost to a point where we kind of think and expect it to be permanent. That's all attachment is just expecting something to be permanent, right? And we know damn well that that's not true, because things have changed, and they have been changing, and they will keep changing, and they're changing right now. Like, the universe is expanding right now. Where we are right now in the context of the entire universe is different than where we were when I started the sentence. Like, we moved. We something changed. Someone just died. A lot of people just died. A lot of people got birthed.
Culture is changing so fast.
Yeah.
Just like,
someone's finishing a song and uploading, and probably is going to change the landscape. Someone's finishing a business and about to make it public right now. Someone's on their way of finishing a product right now that's going to revolutionize the entire world right now as we speak. And the fact that we can't see it, people forget that. People forget that things are going to change, and things will keep changing, whether or not you want them to. And the whole point of the whole reason why anxiety exists is because you're not fine with that. You kind of want to will what you want the future looks like into existence to just end up being disappointed constantly.
You know what's a cool thing is that perspective and just even though we don't see it, it's real, it's growing so much on, I think, the world, that it's seeping into the fitness world. How many ads have I seen on Instagram on breath work and yoga? It's so amazing to see, man.
Yeah, it's nice to see. I'm seeing it more and more. A lot of the biggest from a perspective of like podcasting, a lot of the biggest podcasters are like super into like the spirituality shit, and they'll have a lot of like, I think all of them
all of them have
like,
a practice
Rich
of breath
Roll,
work.
Russell Brand,
Tim
like
Ferriss,
Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss, like they all have like what's the name, Duncan Trussell, like they all have something about it. And I think that's very cool because like this has been happening since basically the 60s, where like people specifically in the West were like kind of like, yo, we're like coping with our intellectual
into the Western world.
We're coping with the aftermath of like the benefits. We're coping with the benefits of intellectuality, where it's like, okay, we're figuring shit out physically so much, but like now we're so attached to physical that we're to yang that we're completely forgetting about yin. Like we're basically trying to pretend like yin doesn't exist, and every time it manifests itself, we freak the fuck out.
And another, like, it's scary that how like substantial that is, because like you were saying before, like our biology does not catch up that fast.
It doesn't.
So our environment is so polluted, man. You see that the flash is coming out of your camera.
That's blue light. Yeah.
This is probably flickering, like it's LED, right? So it's flickering, or we can't perceive it, but it's flickering.
But it's happening.
So our eyes are perceiving that, and it's damaging. It's like, and the cosmetics that we're like washing our hands with, there's like it's the chemicals that are inside of it are contaminated, man.
And that's the whole thing of wanting a quick fix, and that's what David Goggins tells you, where it's like you keep like trying to will a finish line in life. You keep trying to will the fact that shit is like, so that's the symptom of that, where it's like we keep trying to find quick ways to do things.
It never ends.
Like we let convenience fuck us up in the long term just because we want a little short term fix, right? We keep it's the same thing with like being binge watching shit. It's like it's like a nice warm blanket. It's like in that you're temporarily in a very illusory warm blanket. You think you're so shielded watching that show, and there's nothing wrong with it, but if that's all you do at your life and you don't take responsibility for things that you have to take responsibility for, when life hits you, when like actual like shit hits you, like you never know when a war might break out, bro. You never know, there could be an earthquake, natural disaster happens, and now that that show is not here. What are you gonna do then?
Man,
Yell.
COVID happened, man. It's like
COVID happened, and people still kind of haven't learned.
People in villages in Nepal, like villages everywhere, man. Villages everywhere. Like the economy in Nepal is like, it's very like complicated. Like, and the government's not doing anything. Like, there's people who live day to day on doing like menial labor. You know, like now they don't have food. They don't have money to buy food.
A lot of people lost their jobs in this days. Like there's someone, I was watching this video of the guy getting evicted because basically he lost his job, couldn't make any money, and by the time he had the job back, he couldn't save up enough to pay the house off, and like he was so behind on rent that he just kicked him out, bro. It's like at this point, it's like the system is so king that it's like the basic livelihood of a human being doesn't matter. Where it's like you don't get a crib,
and it's
like,
dude, it's so king. The system is so king.
And if there's one thing we learned this year is that the system, especially, well, I don't want to speak for Canada, but like U.S. specifically, U.S. is like exposed, where it's like the U.S. system is very obviously flawed.
Thanks to Donald Trump, you can see all of it.
Thanks to Donald Trump. That's why I'm happy with his presidency, because the nigga showed, embodied
that
where
going
the states
on
were.
In every single India, Canada,
like,
corruption, man.
Canada just knows how to hide it. Like Fritz said we just threw this shit under the mat and just said, let's just pretend like it doesn't exist.
And the scary thing is that science is not really science anymore. It's who can
at this point
who can gather the most amount of money to push an agenda. It's like Bill Gates and his vaccine. Like, dude, why? Bill Gates doesn't he work with computers? Why is he working on a vaccine? And there's so many studies that have, like, I don't know, like my stance on vaccine. I'm not asking you to adopt it, and I don't really know myself.
Yeah,
but I've
unknown.
seen a lot of like very educated people that have studied this say that it's not the end all be all, and it's probably not very healthy for you.
I think that's like the thing a lot of people should adopt, though. Like, it's just like, just because it works doesn't mean it's an absolute 100% good thing. Like water can kill you.
And that's the thing. Like the word is that, like the word is king, and whoever's up there has the power to make the word absolute.
Appeal to authority is a big thing. So it's like whatever the news tells you. Like it's funny because we see it as on our age, like when parents like watch the news, like they repeat that shit, and you can tell like they strongly believe it, and like they say it, and it's like it's almost as if like a drone.
News, like the COVID news, dude. It's like, it's
that
like,
time was very interesting.
17 new cases today.
And
it's a low. It's a low. But the catch is, there's been less testing done this week.
Doesn't mean you shouldn't keep being in fear.
Be afraid.
Doesn't mean
coming.
Doesn't mean you shouldn't be scared. I don't know what to say. It's funny. I fully got off Ram, but I haven't listened to Ram Dass in years. Bro, I've noticed, bro. I get so infatuated with things for very, very intensely. For a very short period.
I've noticed too.
Where I'm like, yo, this is fucking tight. And then like literally like 2 months later,
dude,
I'm like, yo, this is
I feel that
I love that.
Because it's like, dude, like it's amazing. Like with David, I'm like obsessed with David Weck right now.
Yeah, it's fire.
It's like just the admiration that I can have for someone who has put in so much work and is inspiring not only me, but other people. It's like, dude,
it's fire.
I will kiss your feet.
It's fire, bro. Oh yeah, I don't want to say.
Paloma keeps saying Leo people because she thinks the stars can tell the truth. Just kidding, I believe it too.
Oh yeah, he was talking about words and shit, and he's like, useful as these conventions. He was saying like how words and all those concepts are conventions, and they're conventional. We invented them because they're useful in terms of what we needed to do as human beings to like keep evolving and adapt and overcome, basically colonize Earth. But now we've gotten attached to them where we hold on to words more than the actual meaning of them. We hold on to the definition, like, yeah, we hold on to a word more than its like actual meaning, because all words is trying to do is distill a meaning down to a few sounds, right? Like you're trying to say something, you're trying to communicate a kind of thing, and instead of going blah 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 or doing sign language as we used to do, and like yelling and being obnoxious,
or like taking the time to think. Like that's a lot less efficient than just having like a term.
But now where have we gotten where it's like we attach to words so much? So he's basically saying, useful as these conventions are for the purposes of calculation, language, and logic, absurdities arise when we think that the kind of language we use or the kind of logic that with which we reason can really define or explain the physical world. And he was saying this in the sense of like time, the fact that the universe is always in motion. Always. And for me to say it's 7:42 and 50, by the time I ended up saying it, 3 seconds have passed. So it's not actually the time that I said it was once I'm done saying it. Time has already passed by the time I'm trying to say what time it is.
And time has already passed you trying to explain that it's not time anymore.
Exactly. So it's like, in a way, words always miss it by a little.
Right.
So when you're trying to say the train is at this place at this time, by the time you're done saying it, it's not at this place at this time anymore, because the time's passed and it may be moving, and now it's in a completely different place, right? So that's the failure in words. So it can't fully describe, define, or explain the physical world. Part of man's frustration is that he has become accustomed to expect language and thought to offer explanations which they cannot give. To want life to be intelligible, quote unquote intelligible in this sense, is to want it to be something other than life. It is to prefer a motion picture film to a real running man. To feel that life is meaningless unless quote unquote I, the big I, like with capital I, can be permanent. To feel like that life is meaningless unless I can be permanent is like having fallen desperately in love with an inch.
An inch?
And the fact that an inch is just a convenient concept we've invented to be able to measure things. In the same way, everything we attach to is no different than an inch, and the fact that it's just a concept we invented.
Right, it's a metric.
So for you to expect life to be like whatever you want it to be is like falling in love with an inch, which makes no sense. Like when you said an inch, like it makes no sense. It's absurd. That's what we do. He's just trying to show you the absurdity of what we do as humans. And that's what your attachments are.
Yeah, I mean, it's all absurd.
Yeah, it's all absurd. That's why you can't help but laugh. You either laugh or kill yourself. That's literally
One thing that I saw today that's absurd is I went to the Shoppers Drug Mart. And in the pharmacy it said, health something something. And right under that sign, I saw ketchup chips.
That's funny.
It's like, dude, what? It's like in the same building? Come on, man. Like, try harder.
Try harder.
But,
That's funny.
Yeah. I think we should wrap it up.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that. It's been roughly 80 minutes.
Hour and a half?
80 minutes, 85 minutes, 83 minutes, whatever. Yeah, whatever.
So dinner is ready 7 minutes ago.
Get over yourself.
Nice timing.
Get over yourself.
Dinner's ready?
Get over life. Get over yourself. You're already there. You're already where you're going.
But we'd love you to come here.
We'd love for you to subscribe to your Patreon. Check out the Amazon referral links in the description below. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment. What was your favorite part of the podcast?
Yes.
Did you make it to the end? Are you end of the video squad? Let us know. Down in the description below. Bow. Like the comment. Subscribe. Okay. That's cool. Cool.